Okay, listen up. Mission briefing. Our target is the somatotropic surge. Your objective? Master growth hormone excess for your board exams. This is high-yield, high-stakes endocrinology. Let's move.
So first things first, you have to understand the target. Growth hormone, or GH, it's not some steady drip coming out of the pituitary. It's not a constant signal at all.
No, instead, it's a pulsatile surge. You got to think of it more like a burst transmission, right? An intermittent signal that's fired off in these big waves. And this right here, this is the single most important detail about its physiology. Why? Because it's the key to a massive diagnostic trap we're going to talk about.
Now, when that GH surge smacks into the liver responds. It starts cranking out something else, insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1. This is the downstream effector. It's the molecule that actually goes out and carries out a lot of GH's growth-promoting missions all through the body.
Okay, so here's where it gets really important. Look at the contrast. While GH is this fleeting up and down pulse, IGF-1, well, it's the stable shadow. It's got a much longer half-life, so it just hangs around in the blood, giving us this beautiful, integrated picture of total GH activity over a full 24 hours. So burn this into your brain. GH is the pulse, IGF-1 is the shadow.
And this slide just brilliantly shows why timing is literally everything. If all this excess growth hormone happens before a kid's epiphyseal growth plates have fused shut, you get crazy linear growth. We call that gigantism. But if it happens after those plates are closed in an adult, the bones can't get longer, so where do they go? They grow thicker and wider, and that is acromegaly. That's where you get those classic features like the protruding jaw and those enlarged hands and feet.
Okay, before we go any further, just a critical heads up. This content is purely for educational purposes, specifically for international medical exams. It is absolutely not a substitute for clinical medical advice. Any real-life clinical decisions have to be made with a specialist and by consulting official guidelines.
All right, here we go. This is the classic board question. You've got a 50-year-old guy who comes in, says his wedding ring doesn't fit anymore, his wife says he started snoring like a bear, and he's getting these bad headaches. So the intern on the case orders a random growth hormone level, and it comes back totally normal. So the question is, can we rule out acromegaly?
No, absolutely not. Not even close. And here's why. That intern is basically chasing a ghost. Remember, GH is pulsatile. You could have just measured the level right in between two of those massive secretory bursts. Even in a patient who has a huge GH-secreting tumor, the level can look perfectly normal between pulses. So the take-home point is massive. A random GH level is a useless data point for ruling this disease out.
And this, my friends, has a name. We call it the pulsatility trap. It is the classic #1 error. You're relying on that random GH level, you happen to catch the patient in a trough instead of a peak, and you mistakenly clear them. It is a huge pitfall on exams and, honestly, in the real world too.
So how do we avoid the trap? Simple. We use the 3-step diagnostic refinery. Step 1. What's the best initial test? You measure the stable shadow, serum IGF-1. If that's high, you move to Step 2, the confirmatory test, the Oral Glucose Suppression Test. And finally, once it's confirmed, you go to Step 3. You localize the enemy with a pituitary MRI. 1, 2, 3.
But just when you think you've got it, you've mastered the diagnosis, you've sidestepped the pulsatility trap, you realize, wait a second, there's another trap waiting for you. And this one isn't about diagnosis, it's about what actually kills the patient.
See, most people get fixated on the external changes, right? But the killer complications, they're all internal. All that chronic IGF-1 excess drives systemic growth. That leads to things like concentric left ventricular hypertrophy and diabetes. But most importantly, it drives the growth of tissue in the colon, which presents a hidden, absolutely lethal risk.
And that leads to the critical management step that so many people forget. You must screen with colonoscopy. That chronic IGF-1 excess promotes the growth of colonic polyps, and it seriously increases the risk of colorectal cancer. On an exam, if they ask for the next screening step after you've made the diagnoses, this is a killer answer. Don't forget it.
Okay, you have acquired the intelligence. Now it is time to lock it in. Prepare for the somatropic matrix drill. This is going to be rapid fire.
Best initial test for suspected acromegaly?
Go! Serum IGF-1. That's it. You measure the stable shadow, not the fleeting pulse.
What is the single best confirmatory test?
The Oral Glucose Suppression Test. You challenge that tumor's autonomy with a load of sugar.
And what result from that test actually confirms the diagnosis? What are you looking for?
You're looking for a failure to suppress. Here's how it works. Normally, a big glucose load tells a healthy pituitary gland, hey, shut up, stop making GH. So you're looking for that level to drop below 1 nanogram per milliliter. But a tumor, it doesn't listen. It's autonomous. It just keeps firing. So if that GH level stays above 1, the diagnosis is confirmed.
What is the most important associated malignancy risk that you have to screen for?
Colorectal cancer. Do not forget the colonoscopy.
Excellence. The somatotropic logic is now sealed. Mission accomplished.
The somatotropic surge has been neutralized, but your mission isn't over. Your next target is the posterior pituitary. Prepare to navigate the water wars of ADH failure. Let's start the next explainer.